Darkness. Cold metal restraints bite into his wrists. The air hums with the sterile, artificial sterility of a high-security facility. The human war veteran, silent and still, sits in the center of the Galactic Council's interrogation chamber. Dim blue lighting casts his shadow long across the walls. Across from him, a towering Zelvathi Inquisitor, armored in ceremonial plating, stares down with multiple unblinking eyes. A translator drone hovers between them, its synthetic voice neutral, almost bored. You are accused of war crimes against the Unified Galactic Council. Your military actions against sovereign species have destabilized entire regions. Your forces have left planets in ruin. A pause. Do you understand the charges? The human doesn't react. His eyes remain half-lidded, his breathing steady. The Inquisitor's mandibles click together in irritation. We know your kind is violent, primitive, but your silence will not spare you. The evidence is overwhelming. Still nothing. The translator drone beeps, recalibrating. The Inquisitor sighs, exasperated. Humans, always so stubborn. It doesn't matter. You are nothing more than an anomaly, a relic of a species struggling to find its place. Your kind has barely scratched the surface of the stars, yet you act as if you own them. Finally, the human moves, just a fraction. His fingers flex slightly against the restraints. He exhales, slow and deliberate. The Inquisitor leans forward. You misunderstand something, the human says. His voice is low, measured. You think you've won. The Inquisitor's mandibles twitch. We have won. Your capture is proof. Silence. Then a soft chuckle. It's barely audible, but it carries. The Inquisitor stiffens. Something about that sound, deep, knowing, devoid of fear, unsettles him. The drone flickers as new information loads into the system. A junior researcher in the observation deck hesitates before addressing the tribunal. There's something strange in his file. The presiding officials glance over. Clarify. We cross-referenced past reports. There's a designation attached to him, a name whispered among the outer colonies. It doesn't appear in official human records, but a pause. They call him the Baba Yaga. The chamber goes still. The Inquisitor tilts his head. What does this mean? A senior official, an elder from the Zorathi species, stiffens. His frilled crest flattens, a gesture of unease. It's an old human myth, he says slowly. A legend, a monster. Another official interjects, confused. A myth? Why would a myth be attached to a military officer? The elder's voice lowers. Because in human culture, the name is not given. It is earned. The Inquisitor waves a claw dismissively. Superstition. Meaningless. The human lifts his gaze for the first time, locking eyes with the Inquisitor. Is it? A single question. Calm. Unshaken. But something in the way he says it, like he already knows the answer, sends a ripple through the room. The researcher hesitates before pulling up another file. The projection flickers to life. Grainy footage from a battlefield. Smoke. Alien bodies. Some still burning. Scattered across the ruins of a once thriving colony. A squad of elite Dracarys warriors moves through the wreckage, armor glinting. Then movement. A blur. A shadow among the flames. One by one, the warriors drop. No gunfire. No explosions. Just silence, followed by bodies hitting the ground. The last soldier turns, frantic, only for a knife to slide effortlessly beneath his jaw. The feed cuts to static. The researcher swallows hard. There were no survivors. Another clip. A diplomatic transport under siege. Pirates closing in. The ship's crew already surrendering, until the lights flicker. Systems fail. Security footage catches glimpses of something moving in the dark. Screams over the comms. Then only static. When reinforcements arrived, the pirates were found dead. Every single one. The transport untouched. The only sign of interference? A single phrase etched into the captain's terminal. I was here. The officials exchange uneasy glances. The human stretches his fingers against his restraints again. You didn't capture me, he says. You locked yourself in with me. The Inquisitor glares, attempting to maintain control of the room. We are not afraid of you. You should be. A beat of silence. Then, alarms. The doors seal automatically. The lights flicker, the power grid fluctuating. The officials scramble, confused. The researcher stares in horror at his screen. This isn't possible. What's happening? He looks up, voice barely above a whisper. He's overriding the system. The Inquisitor whirls on the human. You're restrained. The human tilts his head slightly. Am I? With a soft click, the restraints unlock. The room plunges into chaos. The feed from security cameras outside shows a chilling sight. Guards, elite, heavily armed, lying unconscious. Not killed, left alive. A message, a warning. The Inquisitor stumbles back. The council members shrink away. The human stands, rolling his shoulders. His voice remains calm, measured. I told you, he says, stepping forward. His shadow stretches across the room. You have no idea what you've done. The council chamber is silent, save for the hum of emergency protocols activating. The high-ranking officials, once so confident in their authority, now exchange uneasy glances. His name, lingers in the air like an unspoken curse. The Baba Yaga. Outside the chamber, security forces scramble, their boots clanking against the metal floor as they rush to reinforce the facility. Commanders bark orders, weapons are primed, and containment measures are deployed. But behind every command is something unspoken, something primal. Fear. They underestimated him. A high-ranking council member, his skin a sickly shade of blue, turns to the others. We need to act now. Execute him before he destabilizes the entire station. Another official, older, more measured, shakes his head. You don't understand. If we kill him now, we risk something worse. The others stare at him. The older one exhales sharply. Humans are not like us. When one falls, more come. If we execute their deadliest warrior, they won't see justice. They'll see a declaration of war. The chamber falls into a tense silence. No one denies the possibility. A trembling aide pulls up classified files, displaying records of prior human conflicts. The humans have never been the most technologically advanced, nor the most numerous, but what they lack in sheer force, they compensate with something infinitely worse. Persistence. A refusal to break. They have fought wars where they were outnumbered 100-1 and still won. Not through brute force, through attrition, through resilience, through sheer unrelenting will. And then there's him. A record flashes on the main display. A massacre on the jungle moon of Korath 9. A fleet of mercenaries had landed, prepared to burn the colony to the ground. They had the numbers, the weapons, the tactical advantage. Then he arrived. The mercenaries had laughed at the idea of a single soldier standing against them. Hours later, their laughter turned to silence. No distress signals. No calls for backup. Just a ship found drifting, its hull carved open with the precision of a predator dissecting its prey. The bodies inside were untouched, except for the fear frozen on their faces. The ship's black box contained only one recording, one whispered phrase, barely audible under the sound of ragged breathing. He's here. The council members shift uneasily as more reports flood the feed. Entire battalions lost with no survivors. Strategic assets wiped out without a trace. Ships vanishing in deep space, later found abandoned, their crews missing. Always the same calling card. Always the same name. A lower-ranking official, his voice barely a whisper, breaks the silence. We should let him go. The others turn to him in shock. He swallows hard. We are playing with something we do not understand. We have seen what happens when humans are backed into a corner. He gestures to the screen. But this is different. He is not just a soldier. He is something else. Something they made for a purpose. The Inquisitor, still recovering from his earlier arrogance, scoffs. We have superior technology, superior numbers. He is only one man. The aide doesn't even look at him. He simply plays another video. A battlefield years ago. A Zelvathi general, the same species as the Inquisitor, stands victorious over human forces. Their defenses are broken. Their soldiers retreat. The battle is all but won. Then movement. Through the smoke, through the wreckage, he walks. Alone. The human moves without fear, stepping over bodies, indifferent to the carnage. He is wounded, bleeding, but his posture remains unwavering. The Zelvathi general orders his troops to fire. Plasma rounds cut through the battlefield, scorching the earth. The dust settles. He's still standing. The Zelvathi falters. This isn't possible. No being should still be moving. No thing should still be alive. Then the human raises his weapon. The feed cuts to black. The Inquisitor's mandibles click together. A nervous tick he can no longer suppress. The doors slide open abruptly. A soldier rushes in, panting. He's gone. For a moment, no one speaks. The Inquisitor's voice is strained. What? The soldier swallows. He escaped. The Inquisitor stares, uncomprehending. The council chamber erupts into chaos. Orders are shouted. Alarms blare. Security is doubled. Panic spreads like wildfire. The elder speaks softly. It's too late. They all turn to him. He looks them over, his gaze distant, as if recalling something from long ago. The moment he was taken, we had already lost. A transmission cuts through their security systems, overriding all encryption. The main screen flickers to life, displaying a grainy, static-filled image. Then his voice, calm, even, absolute. I'm inside. The transmission cuts, the lights flicker, and the screaming begins. The facility is no longer a place of order. The once proud structure, built to house and break the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy, is now a hunting ground. And they are not the hunters. A squad of elite enforcers moves cautiously through the corridors, their weapons primed. Their leader, a hardened veteran of planetary suppression campaigns, tries to maintain control. He knows fear spreads like a virus. He knows hesitation gets people killed. But none of his training applies here. The security feeds show only glimpses, shadows shifting, the briefest flickers of movement before entire teams vanish from view. Doors that should be locked open inexplicably, drawing them into exposed positions. Automatic defenses misfire, hitting their own. Every system, every safeguard they relied on is compromised. Their enemy is not a force of nature. He is not a rampaging beast. He is precise, cold, calculating, and worst of all, he is patient. The enforcers hear a noise, something subtle, a distortion in the air. They pivot, weapons raised, but there is nothing. Only silence. Then a voice coming through their comms. Not a threat, not a taunt, just a whisper. You shouldn't have come here. Panic sets in. One soldier fires blindly into the darkness. The others follow. A storm of plasma and kinetic rounds tears through the corridor. Smoke fills the air. Sparks rain from shattered fixtures. And when the smoke clears, they see nothing. No body, no blood, just the realization that they wasted their ammunition. Then the lights go out. In the darkness, they hear it. The sound of footsteps. Not hurried, not frantic. Slow, deliberate. Predator in no rush. Their leader stammers out orders, voice cracking. Back to the control room. Now! They turn to retreat, only to find the path behind them blocked. A single figure stands there. No armor. No visible weapons. Just him. The Baba Yaga. The first soldier to move dies instantly. A blur of motion. A sickening crunch. The others don't even have time to scream. The last enforcer, frozen in place, watches as his squad falls around him. He doesn't see how. He doesn't understand. All he sees is the human, stepping over the bodies like they are nothing more than obstacles. The soldier drops his weapon. He knows it won't matter. The human tilts his head slightly. Then he walks past, sparing him. A deliberate choice. A message. Let them know what's coming. Across the facility, chaos continues to spread. More teams are sent in, each more desperate than the last. They track his movements, set traps, seal exits. None of it matters. He moves like a ghost, slipping through their defenses with unsettling ease. He strikes without warning, then disappears before retaliation is even possible. He doesn't kill indiscriminately, only those who stand in his way. The rest he leaves broken, terrified, alive enough to tell the others. The council members barricade themselves in the core command center, their security detail forming a last line of defense. Their arrogance has melted away, replaced by something much colder. Realization. One of them speaks, his voice barely above a whisper. This isn't war. Another swallows hard. Then what is it? A pause. Punishment. A notification flashes across their screens. A single message, overriding their lock systems. He is watching. The Inquisitor, shaking, slams his fist against the console. We should have killed him the moment we had the chance. The Elder doesn't look away from the screen. You never had a chance. A security officer, desperate to reestablish control, initiates full lockdown procedures. Every door seals, every corridor sectioned off. Reinforcements are inbound from the nearest council fleet. They just have to hold out. Another message appears. Too late. The facility's power grid fluctuates. The lights flicker, then die entirely. Emergency backups fail to engage. The reinforced doors, meant to keep intruders out, now become their prison. The air is thick with unease. Then the sound starts. A rhythmic tapping. Soft, inconsistent, like something metallic rolling across the floor. A small object slides into the center of the room. A single council member steps forward, peering down. It's a communicator, still active, still transmitting. He hesitates, then picks it up. Static at first, then breathing, slow, controlled. Then a voice, calm and measured. Do you understand now? The council member's hands shake. You should never have come for me. The transmission cuts, and then the doors unlock. The doors slide open with a slow, mechanical hiss, revealing nothing but the suffocating void of silence beyond. The council members hesitate, their instincts warring with their fear. Every defense, every safeguard designed to keep him contained has failed. Now, the only barrier between them and the inevitable is the length of a dimly lit corridor. A security officer steps forward, weapon raised, scanning the darkness ahead. His breathing is shallow, his movements stiff. The others watch, unwilling to follow. Then his head jerks violently to the side. A brief, muffled sound. Half a scream, half a gurgle, before he vanishes into the shadows. No plasma fire, no struggle, just gone. The remaining guards take a step back, their confidence shattered. They were the elite, the best that could be offered in protection. It doesn't matter. He is already among them. One by one, the security officers fall, dragged into the dark before their fingers can even reach the triggers of their weapons. The council members watch in horror, paralyzed, until only they remain. A flickering emergency light sputters overhead, casting erratic shadows. A voice, calm, emotionless, breaks the silence. There was a time when you might have walked away from this. The eldest council member stiffens. His breath is slow, controlled, but his hands tremble. We can negotiate. Silence. The Inquisitor, still clinging to the illusion of power, snarls. We are the Galactic Council. You have no authority here, no rights. You are a relic of a dying species. A mad dog that should have been put down years ago. A shift in the air. The subtle creak of boots against the floor. Then pain. A single, effortless motion. A strike that sends the Inquisitor to his knees, clutching his shattered arm. He gasps, eyes wide, as the human finally steps into the dim light. He does not speak. He does not move with urgency. There is no hatred in his expression. Only cold, methodical purpose. The Inquisitor wheezes through gritted teeth. This is pointless. Kill me, and my people will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. A pause. A slow, deliberate shake of the head. No. The human kneels, meeting the Inquisitor's gaze. There is no anger, no gloating, just certainty. They won't. The Inquisitor doesn't understand at first. Then, realization dawns, his eyes widening. They already know. They've seen the reports, the security feeds, the bodies left behind, and they've chosen not to interfere. This isn't just about him. This is a message, a reminder of what happens when you corner something that does not fear death, a reminder of why humanity was never truly conquered. The Inquisitor's mouth opens, but no words come. His species values dominance, control, absolute certainty in their superiority. But for the first time, he sees the truth. They were never the apex predators they believed themselves to be. The council members remain silent, their previous arrogance reduced to nothing. Some stare at the floor, unwilling to meet his eyes. Others simply tremble, waiting for judgment. The human stands, exhaling slowly. Your war is over. No threats, no ultimatums, just a statement of fact. Then he turns and walks away, leaving them to sit in the wreckage of their own making. No alarms sound. No reinforcements arrive. He was never meant to escape. He was never meant to win. But they forgot the most important rule of all. You don't put a leash on the Baba Yaga.